Welcome to Abnormal, the podcast for normal people who want to do abnormal things. Today, I'm joined by Jason Daniel, founder and CEO of LSKD, one of the fastest growing functional fitness brands in the world. In this episode, Jason talks us through how he went from being a carpenter and racing motocross on the weekends to now running a business that does over $100 million in revenue per year. If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave your 5-star review, as it goes a really long way to growing the podcast. And now, let's get into the episode. Jason Daniel, welcome to Abnormal.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Pete.
But It's been a long time coming. It's last time we organized this episode, you guys got hit by a typhoon in Oz.
We did, yeah. It was actually a cyclone, but typhoons do happen in Hong Kong because I've flown into one before. But yeah, it was a cyclone. So lucky it wasn't a category 2. I think like it kind of got downgraded, or it would have been quite scary. But yeah, still a lot got damaged, but we're very lucky. So it was a chaotic couple of weeks. Yeah,
it scared me a bit when I got the email from your team being like, oh, we're going to have to postpone this one. There's a cyclone coming into Australia. And I was like, oh God, okay. That's as good an excuse as any that I've had for a postponed podcast.
Yeah, it's not an excuse you want to have, but it was yeah, it was crazy. I think it's the first one we've ever had on the cut, like in Queensland, kind of between Brisbane and the Gold Coast. I don't think we've ever had anything like that before.
I was looking at James Newbury's Instagram and stuff, and he was posting a load of content on the swell and everything up and down the coast, and the waves looked pretty ominous, to be honest.
Yeah, it was wild. Like the swell was pumping. I mean, if you're a good surfer, like you were doing tow-ins. I mean, they'll be fixing those beaches for a while. It got washed away pretty good. And there's obviously I think it's I haven't seen it since then. I haven't been down the coast, but there's like a 2-meter drop just to get down to the. So they're filling it all in now and re-pumping sand back in, and in a few months it'll be good.
That's scary stuff. Before we get back to the episode, I just want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, the Executive Center, or TEC. As most of you know, I recently quit my job to go all in on a career as a content creator, which includes this podcast. But I quickly realized that doing something abnormal in your career takes vision, but also takes having the right space. TEC is redefining workspaces across APAC and the Middle East, providing premium, flexible solutions built for big thinkers, from private offices and co-working spaces to event venues and a lot more. With top-tier locations, world-class amenities, and a powerhouse community of over 50,000 like-minded professionals, TEC gives you everything you need to turn your boldest ideas into reality. I use their offices every single day, and the free coffee and incredible views are the best way for me to be productive. So if you need a space to help with your abnormal journey, then click the link in the description for your free trial. You won't regret it. Let's get back to the episode. Hey man, listen, thank you for coming on. I love your story. I've known LSKD for a small while now, and seemingly overnight, it seems like it's just blown up. Now, I know that's obviously not the case when you're working in the business, and it is your business. And I want to talk more about that throughout this episode.
Yeah.
But what's one thing for the listeners, what's one thing that they should know about you, Jason Daniel, as the person, to give them the best context for the rest of this conversation?
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, the brand LSKD started a long time ago. It started in 2002 as a high school nickname. I was riding BMX with some pro BMX athletes. They were actually 18 and I was 13, and I was trying to jump this really big jump and I couldn't jump it. And they turned me the loose kid, and that's how it all started. It was 2002. The initial goal after riding BMX was to become a professional motocross athlete, but the 2002 to 2007 period of time when the brand first initiated kind of as a high school nickname, it was a bunch of fun. I finished school in 2003, so I completed grade 12. I ended up becoming a carpenter. I did a bunch of other jobs, electrician, worked in a bricklaying yard, and then ended up becoming a carpenter. And I was racing motocross on weekends and, had a huge obsession to becoming a pro motocross athlete, and not realizing today the learnings I got from being in the community at the motocross track, having sponsors, sponsoring athletes, popping up a small tent at the track, just being a part of it. There was no social media, there was no magazine ads then. So I was magazine ads, it wasn't social media. So I got to learn all these things I didn't know I was learning back then as the brand's gone on. And in 2007, I decided that I wanted it to be my career. So it took me 5 years before I realized I actually wanted this to be a job. And we changed the company from Loose Kid Industries to LKI and abbreviated it essentially. And it was very natural. We just abbreviated. We had this little circle logo. We actually paid $30 for it with a bunch of other designs randomly, which was quite cool. I'm not a designer, so we had to find amazing people to help. And it took me 3 years to go full time. And I was working a full-time job, racing motocross on weekends, driving to retail stores on a Saturday to try and sell off a little catalog as, wholesale orders to get the brand out there, selling at motocross tracks, sponsoring athletes, finding ways to build the company really grassroots. And I finished my apprenticeship in 2010 and essentially started another apprenticeship, which was LKI full time. And we were shipping orders from my mum's house. We had 3 20-foot shipping containers. Her bedroom was loaded up. We had the whole house ended up being essentially a warehouse, and which was quite cool. We were shipping orders from there, and we lived on 5 acres. And I actually had a supercross track. So in the end, we had, in 2009, in the end, there was just constant delivery drivers driving up we had like a gravel driveway, so it wasn't even bitumen. There's always dust up the driveway because it's constant. It's quite cool. And then 2010 we moved into our first office, and then for the next 8 years, we just did lots of different things, lots of products. We made life jackets, motocross gloves,
and
socks.
This is all LKI, right?
It's all LKI still, yeah. And we're predominantly a wholesale business. We sponsored athletes in action sports. I was massively passionate about that and working with athletes and building product around it. But I just jumped into so many categories and not realizing I was doing that. It was more around how do I have a job as opposed to how do we build something bigger than ourselves. And anyway, in 2015, I ended up doing a course called Landmark Forum, which is a 3-day self-development course, which is kind of the start of my personal development journey. I wasn't really interested in learning and kind of thought I knew everything. And from there, the brand was actually, I would say it was struggling. Like for 5 years, we were stuck on about $3 million a year. So 2018 is when we changed the company. But previous to that, from 2019 back, it was stuck on the same revenue number. And I started to realize I was like, what's going wrong here? And I started to look for mentors in the industry, ended up meeting someone that owned a skateboarding brand. And he kind of gave me locally, he grew up in Logan, and he gave me a lot of advice, which was really cool about building a brand and staying in your lane. And I started reading books and, books like Good to Great and so many others, and thinking like, what's my why? Like, why am I here? Because I've been doing this, it was 11 years essentially, and longer than that. And I've been doing it for 8 years full time. And I just had my first child. Hendrix was born in March 2018. And, that really put me in the real world. And, I loved fitness. I was always involved within the fitness community. And I just was like, why? Like, what are we doing? Because the brand is not growing. I'm making all these mistakes. And I suppose I started to listen to the team and realize I wasn't listening to the team. And we had a team of 12 then. We're now over 350 team members. And, I started just thinking, okay, like what's our purpose? Why are we here? And that's how we created our mission today of inspiring our community to be 1% better. But going back to that was a lot of kind of soul searching and thinking, okay, like where do we fit? How do we stop doing all these products? And it was a whirlwind, and it was quite a struggle because, we started seeing orders canceled from our big retailers, which was very stressful. There was weeks I wasn't paying myself a salary. It was whatever it took. And we changed the company in September 2018. And when we changed it, it was a number of things of getting the team's feedback, our community and our athletes. And when we changed it to LSKD, it was very organic. We didn't throw a big song and dance. We just changed the logo essentially. And it's funny because our website is lskd.co. And people are like, what was the strategy behind .co? And I was like, oh, there's no strategy. We just couldn't afford .com. Someone had taken it. We own it now, but it was like, just do whatever it takes to change the brand and keep it really simple. And then my years of experience, traveling to suppliers since 2011, I didn't realize I was so lucky to learn all these, life experiences was let's build a product and build fabric for the community. And let's build the best in the world leggings for the functional fitness community and get their feedback, and we ended up launching the Rep legging in July 2019, and that really changed the company. And it was all about how do we support the local fitness community within functional fitness, and really work with our athletes, other trainers and gym owners, and how do we support them. And so it's just this long journey of kind of finding our why and not realizing that we were always involved in fitness and had this huge passion, but didn't really solidify ourselves. And it was kind of an on-the-job MBA, I say, you know,
Yeah.
making lots
I
of
mean, there's
mistakes. But
so
yeah,
much
in a
to
nutshell, it was a long journey. It was very
there's
grateful.
so much to unpack there. And I think and I want to unpack it because I think it's such an amazing story. Like, I've listened to a lot of interviews you've done and read a lot of stuff. And I think it's so cool to go from that pro athlete, or, you know, very close to being, you know, full-time motocross, and having these sponsors and doing that on the weekend, which was obviously your passion. Also being a carpenter, and then now a very successful entrepreneur. And to those of us on the surface, like myself, maybe a year ago, who would have seen LSKD, you're like, oh wow, that's come out of nowhere. You know, that's pretty impressive business model. But actually hearing you talk then, it's like, fuck, it's a long old journey. And I'm interested in so many parts of it, from the athlete perspective and like the transferable skills. But also, one thing you said there is the transition from LKI to LSKD, and you're in extreme sports, life jackets, and then into leggings. Like, how do you go from one to the other? Like, what was that change? How did that even happen? Was there an aha moment?
There was, and when I say life jackets, I mean, we made everything. We still had some sportswear. We had some, we initially kind of started in streetwear, making streetwear products. And then in 2011, we started making life jackets because we sponsored wakeboard athletes. So we naturally thought, let's make life jackets, but we were making board shorts for them as well. But we did have a pair of leggings as well. So we'd actually already had a pair of leggings that we were selling, but I wouldn't say they were that great. And I realized that they were actually selling quite well. So I thought, why not, you know, how do we redevelop this pair of leggings for the community? Because we kept getting asked for it in 2017 and 2018, and thought, actually, if we can make this product for the community and we can develop our own fabric. So we kind of did have products in that space, and we did try to do LKI Active as well, which we still have all the original catalog. So we kind of tried to do it, but actually I would say failed at it in doing activewear initially in 2014, 2015 with LKI. So I kind of already had a go at it, but didn't succeed. And I think it was because it wasn't coming from a place of, I suppose, purpose. It was just, let's just, because it's a trend, not let's make it because we have a purpose to be around that community.
And I'm interested there because you also mentioned the fact that you struggle to listen to your team as a person yourself. So I know how difficult it is for people to change. I do believe people can change. Talk us through that journey. How have you gone from feeling like you weren't listening to your team or weren't trusting your team or whatever that was, to now having a team of over 350 people listening to the community and having that constant feedback?
Yeah, I think when I look back on it, you know, I think as a, you know, anyone starting something, founder or any leader, any role, I think sometimes you think you need to know it all. And I think you just think you need to expect to know the answer and you're the one that needs to know it. But essentially you don't always need to know it. You need to seek to understand before being understood. And I think, you know, I wouldn't say it's from like past experience, you know, working on a job site, building houses. I didn't really get to learn that, you know, I was building houses. I'd never worked in an office environment or had led teams. I'd never done any of that before. And when I say that, an example was in the early days, maybe it was 2012, 13, we had a couple of team members, you know, one of our team members, who's our creative director today, Dylan, he started in 2011 and then left for an 18-month period and then came back, and he's been such a big part of the brand. I remember in 2013, I think it was, he was sitting there showing me a job description and I'm like, what's a job description? You know, I'm like, I have no clue and I don't really care. You know, I was just an idiot. But I didn't know what I didn't know because I'd never been exposed to this. It was like, just go hard and make product and try and build a brand to be around and be involved in the industry. I just didn't know these things. So you know, and you could say it took a long time. Like I had to go through that many mistakes. And I still make mistakes today, but yeah, I think it was not only from reading books but I think the biggest part of it was making those mistakes and realizing, wow, you don't do that again. Like that, you know, like, and I made mistakes in the company when the team gave me advice not to do things. And instead of seeking to understand, I just went and did it, go, no, we should do that anyway. And then, you know, it's like, oh yeah, they did tell me that. Well,
You're proving them right. I hate it when they're right, my team.
Yeah, like, and this is a long time ago, and you know, I'm not perfect, but I think, seeking to understand before being understood, I think is a big one. And just listening to the team, there's so many great ideas. And now as it's got bigger, it's how do you learn from everyone to make the best possible decisions from, the team, the community. And we're all learning together, I think is a big part of it. But it's also making the decisions based on how we inspire our community with 1% better and our values. So, there's something to go back to when we make decisions. It's, it's not about me. How do we create something bigger than ourselves? So, yeah, there's so many examples over the journey that
how hard has it been for you as a founder to like relinquish some of that control and decision making process? Because now obviously you've scaled up so massively, and you've got retail stores opening, and you're really growing fast against huge competitors. But naturally, you can't be the only one making decisions, right? Otherwise, you're going to be the bottleneck. So how's that transition been to relinquish some control over the company?
I think it's been fine. I think we have a great team and spend a lot of time developing them, and I love to be a part of it. I mean, I don't have an office, I don't have a car park, sweep the sheds. No one's too big to do the small thing, and no one's bigger than the team. But I work with the team every day. I sit in the middle of the office. Essentially, I'm with the crew. I'm learning. We're failing together. I love being a part of it, and we have an amazing team, and we spend a lot of time on development. We pay for everybody's Audible account. We all read the same books. There's so many others, but how do we create a common language within the brand? So we all make decisions together and we fail together. I can't do everything. I'm not great at everything. So and I'm trying to learn as quick as I can as well. And, especially coming from wholesale into e-commerce, and then now we're opening, retail stores and having retail and e-com together. It's been awesome learning, like going from, one store. Essentially our first official store was 2.5 years ago, in a shopping center. Our HQ was just before that store, but to now we opened our 19th on the weekend.
Wow.
Had to learn a lot and listen to, and we have a great team, we're working together. So I wouldn't say it's about letting go from a control perspective. I think it's how do I work with them and learn from them, and we make decisions, and, and having a set of values and to make decisions on, I think is much more powerful.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it makes sense. And I think, for me, right, I'm a sporting background as well. I used to be an ex-professional athlete as a rugby player in the UK. And I think that's helped me in this kind of second part of my life with identifying good cultures or good values in people, having a level of discipline in certain day-to-day life and habits and certain things like that. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes, because I make a lot of mistakes, and I still get scared about a lot of things and taking risks. But I want to talk about the culture side of things. How do you make a good culture, and how would you describe the culture at LSKD?
Oh, I don't know. I have to ask one of the team.
Yeah. Maybe not ask the founder. How's the culture at your own company?
I'm not talk it up. I think it all starts, standing for something. I think, having a purpose or a mission or standing for something greater. I tried to create company values in 2015. I tried to do it, the exercise, and it was absolutely shocking because I didn't believe in it.
But what was that process like? What, you just had to sit down and write a load of values out, or you were brainstorming?
I sat in a room with someone that tried to help me extract values for LKI. And I was like, what is this? This is a waste of time. I was just like not in the right headspace thinking, what do you need this for? You don't need values in a company. Just go and get it done. So I've gone through all those kind of I didn't know what I didn't know and made those mistakes. And when we created our company values in end of 2020, 2021, we did it as a team. It was about 40 of the team that filled out an anonymous form.
Wow.
And because we were all reading these books, and, you said, coming from a rugby background, Legacy is an amazing book about the New Zealand All Blacks. And, we were just all reading books together and the same ones. And we all said, like, essentially, what are your values that would tie into LSKDs? And we just did an anonymous form and filled it out and printed it out. And it was very organic. Jade, our head of CX, and Keith, our COO, did it together. And back in start of 2021, and we had fun with it. And we're like, would we show up to work for that? And would we make a decision for that reason, with create a community or, move fast, break shit,
Yeah, talk us through the values. I know you said you've got 6 of them, right? And I know they're online, but talk us through them.
Yeah, and I think when we did the values as a team, we just had a lot of fun, and I think we make decisions. We do have them on the wall here, but I think it's more than that. There's so many other things from a cultural standpoint. I mean, we do workouts at the gym and we do all these things. No one has a car park, and sweep the sheds, and we have so many cool things that we're doing. But I think it's so much more than that of how do we create a place that we all feel a part of, and how do we develop our team and their futures. And whether it's we pay for Landmark Forum, we pay for everyone's Audible account, and we develop and recruit on books, and we do vision and goals together, setting our 1, 5, and 10 year vision and goals, and how do we help our team's careers further than just career, but personal and health, and thinking of it as how do we help our team further than just their career, or how can they achieve those goals both personal and professional. I think that's something that we work a lot on, and it's hard. It's a lot of work. I don't think it's we're not perfect, and it takes time. I think and I think when we transitioned to LSKD, it was almost like a fresh start. It's like, let's rebuild it from the ground up. And we just got some of the team I got some of the team to read some books with me to get their feedback, and it became really fun. And then all of a sudden everyone was reading books, and we're like, oh, this would be great fun. Imagine if we just, everyone read the same books that we all felt aligned, but also recommendations were coming in, and we thought they were great. They aligned to who we were as a brand. And so it wasn't just me the books came from, it came from the team as well. And yeah, it just happened really naturally. And now it's about how do we maintain that? And it is a big fear of mine. I mean, as you get bigger, you really need to focus on that. Because I think you can lose it pretty quickly. I think you see it happen to brands all over the world or businesses, and you got to make sure you work hard to maintain it. It's like a professional sports team, right?
Yeah,
you see it, you win the grand final, and then 3 years later, they potentially could be bottom of the ladder. Like, it's happened. And
for sure.
What happened? It
happens, more frequently than I'm sure teams care to admit. Like that taste of success and how quickly things can change.
Yeah, when you're on your game, you got to change it, and you got to really be making sure you maintain it. And I think we got a long way to go. It's such early days for us as a brand. And, I get inspired by sports teams, and how do they maintain that, and what do the coaches do and the team, and I think it's quite cool.
So talk us through the 6 values then, or the 6 values or mission statements. What's the best way to refer to them?
Well, our mission is to inspire our community to be 1% better every day. That was a core value, and then we moved it into our mission or our purpose. But
so that's the one company mission. That's the main.
Yeah.
Inspire the community to be 1% better every day. Now, I love the t-shirts. I love all the kit, which has 1% better every day. I think it's super catchy. And then what are the values?
Oh, put me on the spot. So one's 1% better every day. One's create a community. Our community is why we're here and who we work for. One is move fast, break shit. Foul forward, dead. For me, nothing's impossible.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Talk us through that one.
Oh, I mean, move fast, break shit. We're not physically breaking stuff. It's essentially, it's essentially as you get bigger and you're making decisions every single day, how do you make sure as a company that, you don't, sometimes it can be an analysis by paralysis. And I think, you sometimes got to make a decision. And I don't think if you do make a decision, you could go backwards. Like, you just got to make decisions as a team and move forward. And we just thought it was fun to call it move fast, break shit, and we put it on product. And that's why below it, it's fail forward, dare to think differently. Nothing is impossible. So it kind of conceptualizes what that means. And another one is enjoy the journey. Have fun, be yourself, and embrace diversity. I think that's it's like anything. It's not easy. I think in what we're doing, we're trying to build something bigger than ourselves. It's hard. It's not the easiest thing to do. And, we're learning every single day. So how do you make sure as a team you're enjoying it, but also in your personal life as well, I think, is a big one. And another one is create a community. Our community is why we're here and who we work for. And, we thought, I don't like the term customer or, that. I've kind of growing up in the action sports industry, and you kind of, hear the lingo. I was like, I don't really like that. Like, I don't really like being called a customer, So why don't we call
very
them
transactional?
Yeah, it's like your team, I don't like the word employee. I like team, So it's like we just wanted to make our own language and make it fun. And in every decision we do, it's like, how do we create a community? Like whether at an event, whether we're, in our online store through the community experience team, like anything we're doing, we have over 100,000 in our Facebook community group. I don't know if you've
Wow.
checked it, but LSKD community on Facebook, they're awesome. Like, and we're not perfect on there. We get a lot of direct feedback, but that's how we get better. But it's an awesome community group, and I'd highly recommend checking it out. Sweep the sheds, as I said before. No one is bigger than the team, and no one's too big to do the small things. And, that one there kind of goes back as like, in 2018, it was kind of like, when we changed the company, there was no guarantees this was going to work. And it was quite scary that, when we did the change, because we'd had all our orders canceled. And I was like, why do we need an office? Like, why do I need an office? I don't think I do, like that's, I don't use an office, so I couldn't handle sitting by myself anyway. So, and, no one should get a car park. Like, I don't understand what that means. Like, so, sweep the sheds goes as far back as if, I literally just got back before and I lost my car park. So I'm on the street, up the road. It's raining. So I'm like, hopefully I can score a park closer to the office, because we've run out of car parks here. And we've just taken next door. So, some more space.
That keeps you humble. That keeps you down to the ground, keeps you humble.
Well, yeah. And I think it's like, if it's your team members' first day working at LSKD and they're there before anyone else, they can get the best car park, HQ. It's like first in, best dress. And, sweep the sheds is a big part of that. Another one is if there's a better way to do it, find it. Innovate, set the standard, do more with less. Same thing, we're, always trying to, push to find better ways, because, we're not, that you've got to be looking around corners and constantly improving as a brand and for the community. And, we're very passionate about product and product development and fabric and raw material, and improving our product, and our product from 5 years ago to where it's come and what the team's achieved. It's, we're working with some of the best fabric mills in the world, and it's so cool to see our quality getting better and better. And it's how do we make the best, quality, and just finding better ways to do things all the time through everything we do. And that's it. And then obviously 1% better every day is a value, but we also then, and it recently changed it to our mission as well.
I love that. And they're really relatable ones to live by, I think, not just in a work setup, but you can take those values. And as you said, your team came up with those values because they're life values, right? They come together, you brainstorm, and it's values that you'll happily want to live by outside of your work. Yeah, if you're getting 1% better every day in your day-to-day life, whether that's training harder or, you're seeing your family more, 1% better relationships every day, like it's a great way to live by.
Yeah, I think that like with 1% better every day, like not every day is going to be perfect, right? Like it's, we all have bad days, or we're sick or something happens, right? That's life. So it's like, well, what can you do that might just help you that little bit more? It might be just trying to get rid of that sickness, and you're just taking extra vitamins.
True.
There's always something to use it for. It's not just always about trying to be at the highest level performing in life. And I use it a lot in my fitness journey, I'm getting ready for another Hyrox, and I had so much fun at the Brisbane one. My partner and I are going to do Sydney. So
awesome.
We've just taken on Proven to coach us, and it's going to be fun.
Oh, wow. Good luck.
I'm going to bring you challenge.
Having spoken with Joanna this week, again, it's the Proven guys and girls, their Instagram, all their content, it just sounds so brutal. I mean, everyone who trains it and everyone who's on their programs, it feels like such an elite group, and the program is so good, but they're always training, like it's insane. So that's you now. That's you. You're on the Proven program.
Well, I haven't started yet, but yep, I've been through a couple of workouts with Tia. Part of me when we signed her as an athlete, which has been awesome. I was lucky enough to train with her twice, and
amazing.
We did this crazy hill session. Her, and, Shane and James Kelly was there, and it was brutal. It was wild. Like I definitely that was harder than doing the Hyrox recently.
Well, that's what they say, right? They want their sessions to be harder than the actual competition.
Yeah, it was hard. 205 heart rate. It was great.
So let's talk about the athlete side of things then. I know that's a big part of what you guys do, and you've signed some really high profile, amazing athletes, and you've got some really great ones on your books, and a few of them have come on Abnormal, the podcast, which has been amazing. Hope to have many more on. Tia is obviously the biggest one that's come out recently that you've signed. 7 times world's fittest woman, icon in health and fitness. women's space, men's space, health and fitness space. Can you talk us through those negotiations and how that came about? Because she is an incredible signing for you guys.
She's so inspiring. After training with her twice, I'm very inspired. There's another level I learned in my training journey. She's so cool. I mean, it was very natural. You know, it was maybe about 18 months ago, maybe, just when she came back. She was coming back to train for Rogue, not last year, the year before, after having Willow, and they're Queensland crew as well. So they're from Queensland, and I got to meet Shane at an event, and we just, we chatted because, both from Queensland, and we were both in Miami at Wodapalooza, and we were just chatting and throwing down, and then they came in for a workout. It was just a workout. They just came in, and I did the rowing set with them, and we just walked around the office, and I showed them all our books and, what we do as a brand. And it was, and to be honest, I was more inspired by Tia, of her obsession for reading and learning. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. Like, the book, she was just saying like how important developing her mindset was. And I was inspired by it when we left, and then nothing was said of it. And, we just admired each other, as brands. And then randomly she gave me a call last year. She got my number and called me. I was like, oh, Tia's calling me. This is cool. What a legend. And we chatted for an hour, and just, it was really natural. And, and she kind of, been working on her goals and what she wants to achieve, and obviously balancing, from Hyrox to CrossFit. And it was really cool that she's moving into Hyrox more. I think it's such a cool space, of community fitness as well. I love all functional fitness, from turf games, CrossFit, Hyrox. Like, it's such a community sport. But yeah, it was just very natural. And I think the thing about it was we just had such an alignment of values, and she loved our mission and our obsession for quality and product, but also standing for something greater than ourselves. And it was just really natural. And I think that's, when we work with athletes, and my years of working with athletes over the years, it's how do we make sure there's that values alignment, and humility is always got to be at the forefront of it. And how can we make it a win-win for each other and help athletes achieve their goals, but also, it's not just about elite athletes, they're everyday athletes as well. We have so many amazing athletes, from elite to, gym owners and trainers. So, how can we support? So yeah, I never expected us to sign Tia. I never thought that was actually going to happen. So for it to happen is really cool. And the whole team is so pumped. And we've done so many events with her already. Like, she's been so awesome. And yeah, we talk regularly, and, the team work close with her. And, she just recently did the event with Joanna as well, which was cool, and broke the record. So I think that's the thing. Like, we didn't force it. And I think that's something when, when we changed to LSKD and worked with athletes, it's how do we make sure it's organic? We want to work with amazing athletes that have that alignment of values and think long-term as opposed to short-term. And yeah, it just was cool.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know that she called you. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. I mean, we knew each other, but
yeah.
Well,
I'm not going to soundbite it being like, oh, Tia asked LSKD to sign.
No, it wasn't. We kind of knew each other, but yeah, she gave me a call and was just keen to chat about what we were up to, and we were a 15-minute call. She told me after she was in the car ready to go training, and it was meant to be a 15-minute call, and we both talk a lot. So next minute's an hour later, and I'm like, maybe we should go. I probably got to go back to work. She's like, yeah, I'm meant to go training, like 3 weeks out from Rogue. And then she wore the brand at Rogue.
Awesome.
She tested the product at Rogue last year, and she loved the quality of it. And then it just kind of ended up happening. And I love the fact she's diversifying as an athlete. I think it's really cool. Yeah, she's so inspiring. And, we're hopefully going to do so much more with her, and how do we inspire the community. And she's a big inspiration. We're going to have her speak at a bunch of events for us, and
amazing.
More than just an athlete, like, she's so inspiring.
I think the more the merrier with content, with Tia content. I think she's so relatable, but also completely unrelatable at the same time. Like, she's 7-time world's fittest woman, yet she comes across as such a normal person. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. Like, she comes across so humble, so genuine, so nice. She's got a family, great friends, great circles. And
it is. She's very cool. And I won't forget that workout we did on the hill workout. She's training and she's in the zone. She'll take you down.
Put you through it. She put you through it.
Yeah, she's a weapon.
So what about the Hyrox space then, Jason? You mentioned there how excited you guys are for the Hyrox space, and you in particular are, have done a couple and training for more. What opportunity do you see in that Hyrox space with LSKD in particular?
I think just being a part of the community. I think it's a really cool sport. I've done quite a few marathons now. I train CrossFit as well. I run. I've done some triathlons, and I actually did some functional fitness competitions back in 2018. And so to have something where you're kind of strength and running, I'm a big fan of. It's fun. I do both. I want to break a sub 80-minute half marathon this year at Melbourne, and but also I want to, I've done an hour 23, and I want to try and break the 80. And a goal a year and a half was to go sub 3 hours. So to be able to have run and lifting is really cool, but also I think it's really cool because it's just a great community, and to see it growing is really cool. And I think it gives an avenue. Not, me being in the community and training at a local gym and a part of the fitness community, it gives me something to work towards. Like it gives me goals where, my partner and I, our head of content, Matt Kirby, and I partnered, and he's a runner as well. We partnered for Brisbane, and, we thought, let's try and go sub hour 5. Didn't think we'd get to 59:35. We went, wow, okay, like maybe we should do Sydney and try and break sub 55. We were like, well,
wow,
who cares? That's
serious pace, yeah.
Let's go have fun and let's learn, and it gives you something to work towards, but very achievable. Like I'm like, okay, like I could do this for the next 10 years. It's so, and as I'm getting older and older, I'm like, well, I can keep doing this for a long time. And at Brisbane, seeing that lady, I think she was 71. Doing a solo, I was like,
it's crazy, right? It's insane. There's someone like that in Hong Kong as well, who's become famous in her own right. When I'm emceeing, I go on the mic for the Hong Kong and Singapore races, and she's legendary. She's like, I think she's over 80. She takes like around 3 hours to complete the course, but it's insane. It's insane. So cool, so inspiring, stuff like that.
That is goals right there, right? Like I think that's so cool that you can keep doing it, and it's kind of like marathons. You just keep wanting to improve your time. Yeah. It's like really fun, and you're still building strength, which I think is important, and you're running. And we do hubs outside, like we do a 1% Better hub, and we do things with the community where we work with a local gym, and we put on recovery. We had a physio at the Brisbane one of our physios there. She was awesome, Gabby, and recovery boots. We work with local coffee companies, and just how do we support local brands and just be a part of the community. And Tia did a meet and greet, so did Joe, like James came down, like just being a part of it. Like it's just organic and fun.
It's so cool, man. You're inspiring so many people, I think, especially your story in particular, because you're the founder, you're the CEO. And in my head, and I think in a lot of other people's head as well, entrepreneurialism is at the expense of maybe health. And a lot of people have this hustle culture in their heads of, okay, no sleep, you don't eat well, you're not healthy, but you're grinding, man. And I'm sure there are moments like that, especially to make it what it is today. But I love the fact that you're so passionate and into your health and fitness targets. And that is a big part of your life. And I want you to tell me, how do you think training towards things like a Hyrox, a marathon, how does having those type of targets actually help you, if at all, run your business?
Oh, I think it helps a lot. I think it just helps with the pressure. It takes your mind off it. I mean, I have an amazing wife. She's very forgiving with 3 young kids. So, growing up racing motocross, competing, I got to pro, but I never was at the level to be paid. But I had a lot of sponsors, and I was always obsessed with racing and like just the adrenaline of it, and 40 bikes into a turn. So I think it just kind of being involved in that, I've kind of found my next why of like, I love competing. It's just so fun, like the adrenaline and the work towards it. So, my wife letting me, because I do train a lot. It's like, fitness before anything sometimes in terms of my career. Because I know if you're health and fit and healthy, when the pressure's on, you need to have a really strong mindset. And I think just sweating, helps you it's a great endorphin, right? Like, running for half an hour is one of the best endorphin rushes you can get, as much as it's sometimes hard to even start. But yeah, I mean, I take it so seriously, and I think it helps. I think it helps me in my career. And so many around us, when we're all under pressure and we have, our team, achieving so much, for them to be able to see their health and fitness journey, and it keeps me motivated here. We have such an awesome team that, like, we have a program here called the Team Athlete Program. So we pay for our team's events if they want to enter events, and everyone's signing up for events.
Oh,
Like, we
that
have
is so cool. That's such a cool policy.
yeah, and like it doesn't matter. It could be a 5K, a try, whatever. And like we've got team, like I was talking to a team in production, Christine, yesterday, and she's like, "Oh, I got to get this done because I fly to Sydney Thursday." I was like, "Oh, that's right." She's like, "Going down earlier because there's a turf game Sydney," and like our team are competing as a crew, and there's a couple of them in the team competing, and it's like that's so cool. It like motivates you. You're like, okay, like I gotta be on top of my game here. Keep
I've got to
up.
sign up to something.
There's so many
I've got to
awesome.
sign up to an event.
But yeah, I mean, I think it helps, like that, just with the pressure, and I kind of plan my training, and every week I kind of know, like last week I was traveling overseas in Asia, seeing our suppliers, and we did 3 suppliers in 3 days. It was quite hectic. We got to do 3 workouts, and one was early in the morning, one was in the afternoon, and one was in the morning again. And all of us trained together as a team in the hotel, and we wrote workouts together. It was fun. Like we just, we need to sweat. It's what we do as a brand, but making sportswear, but also it's good for the mindset, for when there's so much happening. So yeah, I'm big on that prep. Like I ice bath every morning. It's great for my recovery, before I train. Try to sauna, but it's hard because it's time with the kids.
It
But
is just time sometimes, isn't it?
I try to sauna as much as I can. We just got one at the office, so I try to use that once or twice a week after I train. But I always think about it. It's for recovery. And it's funny. I recently I got 2 tattoos on my wrists, and one was believe and one was dream. And it only dawned on me the other day. I got them in 2009, and I actually didn't get it for my career. I got it when I was racing bikes because I was like, I want to be an athlete. So I didn't realize. I was certainly thinking the other day, wow, I actually got them for motocross. It had nothing to do with my career back then. So yeah, I don't know. I think you just got to make it work, and it's hard. Like it's, I just know that when I go to these events, if I can't train as much as I would like to, because I have to make decisions for family and my career. But I'll do whatever I can and go out and go hard and have fun. And, just it's more around the journey of going there as opposed to the results in the end, because it's being a part of it is the cool part.
Well, you're inspiring a generation of healthy entrepreneurs, and I love it. I'm all for that. Do you think this entrepreneurial journey you're on, and it's obviously you're way down the line now, but was this something you were always destined to do? Was this something you always had in your mind?
Yeah, it's a question I ask myself a lot. Like this journey's gone for quite a long time, and like LKI was, essentially, 11 years, and when we changed the brand, so we've been going for 11 years, and I always ask myself, why did I keep going hard to make it work? And I think I wanted to be a part of something, and I grew up, working for a very young age. My mum owned a plant nursery, so I grew up working in the nursery, selling at the markets on a Sunday. My mum worked really hard, and I think I was around an entrepreneurial family and my grandparents. So I think that when I look at it, it's like, where did this come from? And I don't think it was ever guaranteed to work, but maybe it was a return on luck moment for LSKD to find to find the niche, and it's the 1,000-hour rule, was it 10,000-hour rule? And it's early days, like I'm like, wow, my career is just starting now, and that's the exciting part. Like I've got to learn so much, and I've still got so much to learn. But I always ask that question, where did this drive come from? Was it born or made? It's like, and I just like to ask those questions to try and understand myself a little more, and, how can I just keep improving? But yeah, I don't know.
I think it's super interesting because it's one of those like nature versus nurture, right? Some people say, you're born with that entrepreneurial gift or drive, but then actually I'm a big believer that you can become anything if you work hard enough at it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so go ahead.
No, I believe that. I mean, and it's who you surround yourself with, right? You become the 5 people you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with great people and they challenge you, that's how you get better. And I'm a big believer in learning from people that know more. And how can we, how can our team and, myself keep learning from people that have achieved, lots of meeting other founders that have built really big brands. I've been so lucky to meet some amazing people. And I think that's really, that inspires you and you get to learn from them. And then you go away and go, okay, cool. Like everyone's human. We all make mistakes. Let's keep going. But yeah, I definitely think it's a lot. It's both, you can. And I think until I started learning from other people more and listening, I think that's when my career changed a lot.
Can you share one lesson that really sticks out that you've learned from a mentor or another founder that's helped you on your journey?
I think learning. I know I've said it a lot. It's quite simple, but being open to learning, and I think, and that's humility and open to learning and knowing you don't know everything opens you up to learning so much more. When you read some of these stories or books or there's so much you can learn from it, and I always love going back to those books 6 to 12 months later because you hear something different. I think that was a big, and hearing other founders that read, Chip Wilson being one of them, a big inspiration. The founder of Lululemon. I was lucky enough to spend some time with him last year, and just his will to learn still is really inspiring. I was like, wow, this is so cool. He's listening to podcasts and this, and you're like, that is, no matter what stage you're at in your career, you still got to keep learning.
Yeah, always 1% better every day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I teed you up for that one. When you said you're at the start of your journey now and things are going really well and it's bloody great to see, you can't ignore the fact that you're in an industry with some absolute giants, right? If someone says to me, right, yeah, let's go compete against Nike and Adidas and all those sort of guys, I'm not sure if you see it as you are competing against them, but I want to know how much of your focus goes on looking at what your obvious competitors are doing versus, right, this is just us, let's stay in our lane, let's focus on what we're doing.
It's a great question. I mean, in the early days of LKI, I used to worry way too much what everyone was doing. It's probably, which I don't think was healthy. What is everybody else doing? And, but yeah, now, I mean, it's how do we make decisions based on our mission and values? I'm definitely inspired by so many brands. I just finished reading Shoe Dog again for like the fourth or fifth time.
Wow.
It's such a story, what Phil Knight has achieved, and I love that story. But we got to stay in our lane and focus on our community and what we do within the functional fitness community. And don't get distracted. I think that's the thing. Like you've got to know what everybody's up to and what they're doing and get inspired, but don't just, don't copy. Like don't conform because somebody else is doing it. You don't need to do that. Do what's best for what you do and your mission and your values and what we stand for as a brand. So yeah, I wouldn't say I spend that much time, to be honest.
And would you say that's one of the biggest changes that you've had since turning from LKI to LSKD?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I haven't shared this before, but we put a quote on the wall in 2018, and I don't know where I got the quote from, but it was, "We don't have competition, we set the standard." And I actually put that up because I was always worried about everyone else is doing and not focusing on just ourselves. And it's still on the wall. It's still in our office, in our new office. And it's like, and it's more of a thing of like, don't get distracted. Like, how do you set your own standard for your community and support them and what are we doing as a team as opposed to worrying about the competition? Now, don't get me wrong. Like we get inspired by so many brands and but it's a huge ecosystem and, wouldn't exist with lots of brands. So I think that quote really rang true to me back in 2018 when we changed, and we still kept our original office. When we moved out of our office in Christensen Road, we were lucky enough to keep it. So when we onboard new team members, I take them for a tour at the original office. So if you're ever here, I'll take you on a tour.
I'd love that.
And we have all the original product, life jackets. We, some of the OG things from back in the day, from even 2002, the first ever hat we made, we've still got. So it's kind of really cool to show the journey of all the magazine ads we did and the athlete ads we did, like, using our athletes. And kind of showcase how far we've come. And that's still on the wall there when you walk into that office. So it's quite cool.
Well, everything we've spoken about here and everything that I've listened to, I can't wait to read your book, Jason, when you finally release it and you finally
We got a
decide to
long way to
write a book.
go. Yeah, we got a long way to go. But yeah, thanks.
So on that one then, last couple of questions. On a personal note for you, how would you like to be remembered when all's said and done?
I I think it would be from it would be from the careers we've created, and through what we've done with our mission and development, like the careers we've created and the entrepreneurs, and what has our team achieved and our athletes, like what difference have we made as a brand for our team and our community over the next 50 years. I think is something, something I think about a lot, and we talk about it quite a lot. Like, how do we make a difference? And I would be really proud to go, look what this team member achieved. Look what this team member achieved. Like, they're running the company now, like it's like that sort of stuff inspires me, because I think you got to think long term, and being remembered for something that we've created a legacy, I think is quite cool. And it's not about me. I mean, I'm just grateful that, yes, I'm the founder, but I'm a part of it just as much, and I love being a part of it. So if we could create that, it's not about me, but it's about what we create that has a legacy, I think would be the coolest thing ever.
What about separate from the business then? People meeting you for the first time. How would you like to be remembered?
I mean, I mean, hopefully a long-lasting, great impression, and hopefully inspiring others around me that anything's possible. I mean, I never really sit back and look to go, wow, I was a carpenter building houses not that long ago. Yeah, it was, still got my nail bag actually, and we joke around a lot.
That's crazy.
I don't need to do anything. I can grab my nail bag. I'm not very good though. They like to give me a lot of shit about it. I've still got my nail bag and my air compressor and all the stuff back at home. It's all stored away, and I'm like, so to know we've come that far from, being on a job site and being in a small town, Logan, when you think of the world, and we're creating global careers from Logan, Australia, in Queensland, I think it's so cool. Like, how do we create careers around the world and build a global brand from Logan? And, I was a carpenter building houses with a passion to race motocross, and to know that we've created something like this and it's still early days is quite special. So, I think that to show that it's and I'm human as well. I'm like everybody else. There's nothing different about me. Just a crazy passion to be a part of something.
Well, I think it's a great story, and as you said, I love the fact that you're a chippy, and now you're doing what you're doing. I think it just goes to show anyone out there wanting to do anything abnormal, and that's the whole point of the podcast, is to highlight stories like your own. Before we get back to the episode, I just want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, the Executive Center, or TEC. As most of you know, I recently quit my job to go all in on a career as a content creator, which includes this podcast. But I quickly realized that doing something abnormal in your career takes vision, but also takes having the right space. TEC is redefining workspaces across APAC and the Middle East, providing premium, flexible solutions built for big thinkers, from private offices and co-working spaces to event venues and a lot more. With top-tier locations, world-class amenities, and a powerhouse community of over 50,000 like-minded professionals, TEC gives you everything you need to turn your boldest ideas into reality. I use their offices every single day, and the free coffee and incredible views are the best way for me to be productive. So if you need a space to help with your abnormal journey, then click the link in the description for your free trial. You won't regret it. Let's get back to the episode. And so the last question I ask my guests on this show is, as you know, the podcast is called Abnormal. It's for normal people who want to do abnormal thing. And I think it aligns quite nicely with LSKD, because abnormal for anyone is very subjective. One person's abnormal could be running a 150 million revenue business. One person's abnormal could be trying to run a 5K. So for anyone out there listening who wants to do something abnormal in their lives, what would your one piece of advice be?
I'm a big believer in setting goals. Like I'm a big believer in setting goals and writing them down and putting them on paper. And even if it's not perfect, just write them down. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just put in your notes. I write goals down and work towards them. Like even for the Hyrox we did, I wrote a goal down for that. Like it was like, and even if it's in the mind, like just make sure you keep working towards something and keep progressing. But don't stop learning. I know I said it a lot. I said it before, but surround yourself with great people that want to learn and grow and develop, and always try and meet amazing people that know more than you so you can constantly learn. I think that's a really important one. And I'm a big believer in, and how can our team constantly learn? So yeah, I think surround yourself with great people that always want to learn and help you all develop together and, set goals.
I love
I
that.
mean, it is, it's crazy to see how we're being talked about now, and it does not feel that long ago. And look, I want to be honest, like in the early days and, before we changed the company, we really wanted LKI to be something, but it didn't, and it failed. And it was really hard to know that it didn't really, like it was a good brand, but we hadn't taken it to new heights. And that was hard. But I think that challenging of being hard and then creating that, it was quite confronting and being like, hey, like this is me. I had to kind of, the humility and vulnerability around it was hard. And I think that's what made me think of how do we build something and get advice to think about how we build or learn from the team. So to see it happen, it's quite crazy. And like I said, it's still early days. So we've got so much to do, but we're very grateful to be in this position.
Well, I think it's an awesome story, not just the company, but obviously your own as well. And I hope that it's one that a lot of people can relate to and learn from. And there's that keyword again, learning. I'm probably going to go re-download Audible after this chat. You're making me, inspired to learn and read more. So, mate, thank you so much for coming on. It's been so great chatting to you finally. I love what you guys are doing. Always rooting for you guys. Love your athletes. Love what you're doing with the community work. And looking forward to following along. I can't wait to see what the next couple of years holds for you guys.
Yeah. Thanks, brother. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Abnormal. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing to the channel and give us a 5-star review in whatever podcast platform you are listening or watching on right now, as it goes a long way to help growing the show. Thank you, and see you in the next one.